Imagine being a kid in the 1980s. You walk into a small store at the local mall, and suddenly you're surrounded by technology you don't fully understand. Strange machines with blinking lights, drawers filled with mysterious electronic parts, shelves packed with radios, microphones, remote control cars, soldering irons, antennas, and computer kits. It smelled like plastic, metal, and warm electronics. To adults, it was just another store. But to millions of kids, it felt like entering the future. This was RadioShack, a company that once helped build modern tech culture before completely losing its identity. Most people today remember RadioShack as the dying phone store sitting empty in old shopping malls. But decades earlier, it was one of the most important technology retailers in America. In fact, there was a time when RadioShack had over 8,000 locations worldwide, more stores than McDonald's. And unlike modern electronics stores focused on selling finished gadgets, RadioShack sold understanding. It gave ordinary people access to the building blocks of technology itself. The company originally started in Boston in the 1920s, selling equipment for amateur radio operators. Back then, radio technology was cutting edge. Hobbyists built their own systems at home, experimented with signals, and connected with strangers across huge distances. RadioShack became deeply connected to that culture. But the real turning point came in 1963, when businessman Charles Tandy purchased the struggling company. Tandy recognized something powerful. Electronics were about to become mainstream. TVs, radios, stereos, calculators, and eventually computers would enter everyday life. And if RadioShack expanded fast enough, it could dominate the market before anyone else realized what was happening. That strategy worked brilliantly. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, RadioShack spread across America at incredible speed. The stores were intentionally small so they could fit almost anywhere. Shopping malls, strip plazas, tiny suburban corners. Even smaller towns had their own location. And inside those stores was something modern retail almost never offers anymore: experimentation. People didn't just buy electronics at RadioShack. They learned electronics there. The back walls were filled with tiny components most people today wouldn't even recognize. Capacitors, resistors, transistors, circuit boards, coaxial connectors. Small parts costing a few cents each, but together they allowed customers to build real devices from scratch. If something broke at home, RadioShack often had the exact replacement part you needed, and the employees frequently knew how to help fix it. Then came the product many people still remember with pure nostalgia: the science fair electronic kits. These simple educational sets allowed kids to build dozens or even hundreds of experiments using wires and spring connectors. You could create alarms, radios, sound effects, flashing lights, even primitive computers. And the genius of those kits was that they made technology feel approachable. Instead of treating electronics like magic, RadioShack showed people how everything actually worked. For countless engineers and programmers today, those kits were the starting point of their entire careers. But there was another problem RadioShack completely failed to notice. The world wasn't losing interest in technology. It was becoming obsessed with it. The internet was exploding. Video games were becoming mainstream. Home computers were everywhere. Digital cameras, MP3 players, DVDs, gaming consoles, wireless devices. Consumer technology was growing faster than ever before. This should have been RadioShack's moment to dominate. A company that spent decades teaching people electronics should have become one of the most powerful tech retailers in the world. Instead, RadioShack somehow became less relevant during the biggest technology boom in human history. One reason was the store experience itself. Older customers remembered walking into RadioShack and feeling inspired. But younger generations walking into stores during the 2000s often experienced something completely different. employees immediately rushed toward customers, asking about phone upgrades and carrier plans. Many shoppers later joked that you couldn't browse for more than 30 seconds before someone aggressively tried to sell you a cell phone contract. The company became so focused on short-term sales that it forgot why customers originally trusted the brand in the first place. And internally, things were getting even worse. Former employees described constant pressure from management. Workers had strict sales targets, especially for mobile phones and accessories. Some stores tracked performance obsessively. Employees who failed to hit numbers faced intense stress. Instead of hiring passionate electronics enthusiasts, many locations simply needed salespeople capable of pushing contracts. The culture that once made RadioShack special slowly disappeared from the inside out. At the same time, the physical stores themselves began feeling outdated. While companies like Apple were creating sleek, modern retail experiences with bright lighting, open spaces, and futuristic product displays, many RadioShack locations still looked stuck in another era. Cluttered shelves, old carpets, dim lighting, random accessories hanging everywhere. Instead of feeling exciting and modern, many stores started feeling small, crowded, and forgotten. And then smartphones changed everything. When the iPhone launched in 2007, technology became simpler for consumers than ever before. People no longer needed separate devices for music, cameras, GPS navigation, or internet browsing. One device suddenly did everything. Electronics also became increasingly sealed and difficult to repair. Modern gadgets weren't designed to be opened, modified, or understood by average users anymore. The DIY culture that RadioShack once depended on became smaller and more niche. But here's the irony. A massive maker movement eventually returned anyway. As social media and YouTube grew, millions of people became interested in building things again. DIY videos exploded online. People started restoring old consoles, building custom keyboards, designing robots, creating gaming PCs, and experimenting with electronics from home. Platforms like YouTube turned technical hobbies into entertainment. Entire communities formed around creativity and engineering. In another universe, RadioShack could have been the center of that movement. Imagine stores hosting workshops, creator events, PC building stations, robotics competitions, coding classes, drone demonstrations, and maker spaces. The brand had decades of credibility in electronics culture. But RadioShack never adapted fast enough to become that version of itself. Instead, the company kept shrinking. After filing for bankruptcy in 2015, thousands of stores disappeared almost overnight. Entire malls suddenly felt emptier. For many Americans, seeing the glowing RadioShack sign disappear felt strangely emotional. Because even people who hadn't visited in years still remembered what the company represented. It was connected to childhood memories, weekend shopping trips, first science projects, first remote control car, first computer. First time opening a device and realizing technology wasn't magic, it was understandable. The company attempted multiple comebacks over the years. Different ownership groups tried rebranding strategies. Some locations reopened, others shifted online. At one point, the brand's social media accounts even became bizarrely chaotic, posting strange memes and trying to appeal to younger internet audiences. But for many people, it felt less like a comeback and more like watching a legendary company struggle to remember what it used to be. What made RadioShack powerful was the experience of discovery. It gave ordinary people access to technology at a time when technology still felt mysterious. It encouraged experimentation before creator culture even existed. It rewarded curiosity. And most importantly, It made people feel like they could actually understand the future instead of simply consuming it. That's something modern tech companies rarely do anymore. Today, most technology is intentionally designed to feel invisible. Phones are sealed shut. Devices are disposable. Algorithms replace understanding. People use incredibly advanced technology every single day without knowing how any of it works. In a strange way, RadioShack belonged to a completely different philosophy of technology. The store represented more than electronics. It represented curiosity itself. A place where kids could walk in with a few dollars and walk out feeling smarter than when they entered. A place where the future felt close enough to touch. And maybe that's the saddest part of the story. RadioShack didn't lose because technology disappeared. It lost because the company stopped believing in the very curiosity that made people love technology in the first place. And once that curiosity disappeared from the stores, customers disappeared too. Today, a few franchise locations still survive in small towns across America. Some still carry electronic parts. Some still repair devices. And a few still feel strangely frozen in time, like tiny museums from a forgotten technological era. Walk inside one. Every engineer who built their first circuit. Every programmer who typed on a TRS-80. Every kid who opened a science fair kit and became obsessed with technology afterward. A small piece of their story probably started inside a RadioShack. And for a company that once introduced millions of people to the future, that legacy may matter more than the business ever did.